Imagine being a vulnerable person in Guatemala in the late 1940s, such as a prisoner, mental hospital patient, sex worker, or soldier, approached by medical personnel offering what was presented as health care or treatment. Instead, U.S. researchers deliberately exposed over 1,300 individuals to syphilis, gonorrhea, and chancroid without informed consent as part of a study to test penicillin's preventive effectiveness against sexually transmitted infections. This is the Guatemala Sexually Transmitted Disease Inoculation Study, conducted from 1946 to 1948 by the United States Public Health Service. The experiments were led by Dr. John Charles Cutler, a public health service physician who later worked on the Tuskegee study. Funding came from the National Institutes of Health through the Pan American Sanitary Bureau, with cooperation from Guatemalan officials. Researchers intentionally infected subjects in several ways: by having infected sex workers engage with prisoners, by direct inoculation of bacteria into the penis, urethra, vagina, rectum, or arms, and by applying infected material to open abrasions or mucous membranes. The goal was to observe infection rates and evaluate whether penicillin could prevent or treat the diseases after exposure. The study involved at least 5,128 participants overall, including vulnerable groups such as children in orphanages, psychiatric patients, prisoners, soldiers, and indigenous Guatemalans. At least 1,308 people were deliberately exposed to syphilis, gonorrhea, or chancroid. Many received no treatment even after infection, or only partial treatment, while researchers collected blood samples and monitored disease progression. Consent was not obtained. Participants were not informed of the risks, the nature of the exposure, or the experimental purpose. Some were told they were receiving medical care or vaccinations. The study produced records on infection rates and penicillin's effects, but it ended in 1948 without widespread treatment for those infected. Many participants experienced untreated or inadequately treated infections, leading to long-term health consequences including chronic illness and transmission to others. The experiments remained unknown until 2010, when historian Susan Reverby discovered the records while researching the Tuskegee study. She shared the findings with the CDC, which confirmed the details. In October 2010, the U.S. government issued a formal apology through Secretary of State Hillary Clinton and Health and Human Services Secretary Kathleen Sebelius to Guatemala's President Alvaro Colom and the victims. President Barack Obama called President Colom personally to express regret. The Presidential Commission for the Study of Bioethical Issues reviewed the events and issued a 2011 report confirming the experiments were ethically unjustified, noting deliberate exposure to serious pathogens, lack of consent, and use of vulnerable populations. In response, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services announced funding in 2012 to support HIV and STI prevention and treatment in Guatemala, along with ethical training programs. A class action lawsuit filed in 2011 by Guatemalan victims and families against U.S. entities was dismissed on jurisdictional grounds in 2012 and subsequent appeals. As of recent reports, no direct individual compensation has been provided to victims or families through U.S. government action. The events contributed to ongoing discussions about international research ethics and protections for vulnerable populations. Sources include the CDC's acknowledgement of the study, the Presidential Commission for the Study of Bioethical Issues report, declassified records from the National Archives, peer-reviewed articles in journals such as the American Journal of Public Health, and Wikipedia's summary of the experiments based on primary documents. All are publicly available for verification. What do you think? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and please subscribe and follow to see the next story.